What's up everyone? I hope you're all doing well today. In today's video, we're going to discuss how you can turn your own images and logos into digitized files that can be stitched out on your embroidery machine. So first of all, I wanted to address what is digitizing. Digitizing is the action of physically converting any photo or logo into an embroidery file. And this video is going to be more of an explanation on digitizing rather than a tutorial. If you'd like to see a tutorial for digitizing, I have already done one and I'll put the link to that down in the description below. When starting out in embroidery, it isn't exactly obvious how to convert your own images into embroidery files. And when I posted that tutorial on digitizing, I had a comment left about how complicated it looked and how there were other softwares available where you can basically do it in one click and it's done. And we're going to be talking more about that today. If you're completely new to embroidery and you're expecting there to be a really simple way of just converting your image into an embroidery file, kind of like how, you know, when you download a movie and maybe it's in .mov format and you want it to be in MP4. Well, there are websites available out there where you can literally upload the file, click a button, and the conversion is done. With embroidery, it doesn't really work like that. You can't just convert an image into an embroidery file. You need to go through the process of digitizing that image, which is quite complex and time consuming. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But don't let that overwhelm you. If you don't have the time to dedicate learning how to digitize, there is a way around that too. So I'm going to tell you about the three methods of digitizing. The first one being auto-digitizing. And this is as close to the one-click done method as you're going to get. And I'm going to explain to you why it's awful. Then there is proper step-by-step digitizing. And lastly, the workaround is where you pay somebody to digitize your image for you. I'm starting with auto-digitizing because I want people to recognize true digitizing as a skill and it's not really something an AI can do for you. I'm going to be using Wilcom's budget software Hatch for this example. While this is a full sophisticated digitizing software, it does also have probably one of the best auto digitizing features you're going to find. Auto digitizing might perform more successfully if you were to have access to a vector file, but knowing most people will be using a JPEG, I'm going to use a JPEG in my example. This is a file I digitized manually. I didn't use the auto digitizer for this, and I want you to note the different types of stitches I deliberately used to create different effects. If I didn't do this and I used the auto digitize feature instead, this is what I'd get. And you can see how the software hasn't added in the features that really define the image, make it look crisp and framed and give it that professional finish that I wanted to achieve. And that is ultimately what it comes down to. Some very basic images might convert well in auto digitizer, but using it on most standard logos or anything that's a little bit more complex will not provide the saleable quality you're looking for.
That being said, Hatch is still a brilliant digitizing software for manual digitizing, and although the auto digitizing which you see here might not look that great, it still does give you a good foundation to work on if you just want to convert an image and then start tweaking individual objects. I just wanted to illustrate that there's no real one-click done method to digitizing, and if you were to use auto digitizer and it came out looking like this, and then you'd have to revisit each individual object and tweak it until you get the style you're looking for, then you might as well just manually digitize the image from the offset.
And that's why I wouldn't bother with auto digitizer. I think if you're going to be creating a lot of designs or you're going to be doing it for your friends and family or even customers, then it's worth your while to learn how to actually digitize, because you won't be able to achieve the results they are expecting with auto digitizing software alone. As an aside, I should mention there is a different type of auto digitizing or photo conversion, which involves uploading a photo, usually a portrait of a person. In Embroidery software is called fomato. And what this software does, it layers stitches in different densities and different patterns to recreate that portrait almost through gradients. Looking at the results other people have achieved with this method, I'd say is probably the most successful form of auto digitizing, but it's really only effective on portraits and maybe some landscape photos. I've never really needed to use this feature myself because it doesn't fall into my demographic, but for the sake of YouTube, one day I will test out this feature and I'll share the results. And now I'm going to talk to you about proper manual digitizing. And a lot of people out there will call it some kind of art form because it does take a bit of time and effort to learn. But once you know the basics, it's basically just fancy tracing. When you manually digitize something, you have much more control over the outcome of that image and can create effective pieces of art. The software I prefer to use is one called Embroidery. It's quite a simplistic software. There are more sophisticated softwares available, but it suits me, so I'll continue to use it. With manual digitizing, you can select what goes where, you can change the stitch length, change the stitch type, you can add ingredients and more accurately trace logos. And this will help you achieve a higher standard of quality. But it does take time to do. I'd say on average, if I'm digitizing a basic logo, might take me 1 to 2 hours to do. But say something more sophisticated like this might take me a couple of days to do, working on and off, which for some people might be too much of a commitment. So what do you do then? You pay somebody to digitize the logo for you. I don't use digitizers. I'm quite happy doing my own thing, but there are plenty of reputable digitizers out there who you can pay to convert the images for you. Usually the process takes between 24 to 48 hours for them to return the image to you. I know there are some services out there that can do it in as fast as 6 hours if you're willing to pay a little bit extra for it. And the cost for a basic 10 centimetre logo, I'd say, is somewhere between £15 to £20 to have that digitised. Obviously, if you're going to be sending something very complex to a digitizer, then you could expect to pay upwards of £75 to have that piece digitised. Of course, there are people out there who'll do it cheaper, there are people out there who'll do it quicker. So if you're interested in having your designs digitized for you, then it might be worth tagging along to a trade show, even if you're just a hobbyist embroiderer. One particularly good show in the UK is called Printwear and Promotion, where there are a few digitizers in attendance who take examples of their work with them. So you can see it firsthand and then find a company who suits your needs and budget. Unfortunately, there are some rogue digitizers out there who will kind of take the mick and use auto digitizing. The quality of their work might not be great. And the best way to avoid this is to join embroidery groups, whether on Facebook or other forums, and see who other people regularly recommend. It's also worth Googling the company and seeing what their reviews are on Google, and also ask if you can see examples of their work before you place an order. Also, the best digitizers will also stitch out a sample of the artwork you send to them so that they can be sure everything is working correctly within that file they've digitized for you. Those digitizers often charge a little bit more, but I think it's worth it just so it kind of gives you that confidence that the file does work correctly. So if you're getting gapping in the design or something, then it's probably something you're doing, and then you can find a way to correct that issue. Regardless of whether they send you a photo of the design stitched out or not, when it comes to stitching out the design yourself, I'd always do the first test stitch on some scrap material before putting it onto the final product. So that covers my 3 points. Like I said, I do actually have a tutorial on how to digitize that is down in the description. But I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel, as it helps my channel grow. And if you'd like to see more of my content, my Instagram is pink_bird_originals, and I'll put a link to that down in the description too. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye.